Welcome back. Our panel is here. Psychotherapist Lori Gottlieb, author of Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. Therapist Nedra Tawwab, author of Consider This, Reflections for Finding Peace. And Jean Twenge, psychology professor at San Diego State University and author of 10 Rules for Raising Kids in a High-Tech World. Thanks to all of you for being here. We really appreciate it. Jean, let me start with you because your research shows a really sharp rise in teen loneliness actually around 2012, just as smartphones, social media are taking off. Talk a little bit about why that has happened and why we are at the point where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, that's the really stunning thing. It's not just that teens today are lonely. It's that they didn't used to be. Teen loneliness was actually trending down until about 2012, and then it just suddenly spiked upward right at the time that people started to own smartphones, that Facebook bought Instagram, and that social media moved from optional to mandatory among teens. More and more teens started to say they felt left out, that they felt lonely. And it's not just social media, it's what social media replaced, because it's also around the same time they started to spend a lot less time with their friends in person.
Well, it's the loneliness epidemic that we just heard Dr. Murthy talking about. Nedra, what do you see as the biggest issues posed by social media, and what can parents do about it?
People are seeking connection and they're trying to get it on social media and they're not getting it in real life because people are disassociating in person by being on their devices. So it's not helping with loneliness, but we think it is. It's giving us a false sense of connection. So we need to disconnect there and connect in real life. And really, it should be a tool to facilitate in-person connection.
To build on in-person connections, not to replace it. And that's what's happening in so many instances. Lori, you talk about the fact that people are doom scrolling or binge watching, and that is such a big part of the problem. How do you see this issue playing out? How deeply ingrained is it? And what can parents do? A lot of families all across the country feel pretty helpless.
Yeah, they do. You know, I think part of it is that we say one thing and we do another. The phones can be so addicting, not just for our kids, but for us too. And so if we're sitting at dinner and we hear a tweet come in or a text come in or something, and we get up from the table, we're saying to our kids, don't do that, but we're going to do that. And so I think we need to be aware that we are just as addicted to our devices as they are, and that we need to pay attention and put our phones down.
Well, so let's talk about some potential solutions. Let's put our phones down. Jean, how do you foster that? How do you encourage your kids to do that once they pick them up? It's pretty hard. You heard Dr. Murthy saying, yeah, probably 16 is the right age to go on social media. The push and pull there is that some parents say, I also don't want my kids to be outside of conversations that are happening at school. So how do you navigate that?
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree. 16 really should be the minimum age for social media. And it's very tough for parents because right now the minimum age is set at 13. It was a compromise in the early days of the internet. Even that is not enforced. Age isn't verified, parental permission isn't required. So we have 10-year-olds on TikTok and Instagram. I think pretty much everybody would agree that that's not a good situation. So parents have to try to take steps to keep their kids off social media. So if you want to do that, no social media until 16 is a great rule. It's one I suggest in the book. How are you going to do that? One way, delay giving them any phone, and especially delay giving them an internet-enabled smartphone that allows social media and internet. If you feel like they need a phone, give them one that texts and calls, maybe has a few other apps, but does not have social media on it. It can be a flip phone, it can be a phone designed for kids.
Those old-fashioned flip phones, Nedra, are looking better and better by the minute. As a mom of two, I think I'm going to go out and get some of those. You know, part of this challenge that we are facing as parents, as a community right now, is AI. These AI chatbots that people are going online, they're having conversations basically with computers as if they are real people. What do you make of the AI surge, and what can parents and families do about that? Do you see that as a potential harm as well?
I think AI is good for some things like checking your grammar, but for building relationships and connection, I don't think it's good for that. we have to learn those skills in real situations. And if we have this perfect companion in AI, if they're giving us the answer that we want to hear, that's not the friction that we need to really sustain our relationships.
Lori, what do you get in on this conversation about AI? Because I think a lot of people are wondering how it fits into this broader space. Here we are so concerned about social media. This is really another aspect of it.
Yeah, I like what Nedra was saying about not having friction, because we need friction. That's part of relationships. And so I think that when people are using AI to kind of validate their position and they never get another perspective, I see in therapy people come in and they'll say, oh, I had this entire conversation with AI about my issue with my partner. And of course, AI is going to support what that person is saying. So I think that people need to understand what it is and what it isn't. And especially with our kids, like when you're saying you don't want them to have phones until 16, we need to talk to them about, what are you doing on your phone? What is the difference between what you do on your phone and what you do in person? Because there's space for both. Someone who might not find a community out in the world, they might find it online, but then can you use that to find ways to meet people in real life? So it's not that technology is bad, it's can we be more intentional about how we use it?
Jean, how do you see AI? Is it about being intentional and helping kids to navigate it, particularly if they are going online and having conversations almost to supplant friendships?
I think that's going to be a big problem going forward. So my youngest kid is 13, so she has one of those phones designed for kids. But on the games, ads will come up, and some of the ads, a good amount of the ads that she gets are for AI boyfriends and girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And really young kids are being exposed to this. Now, she can't click out and actually go sign up for one of these on her phone, but a lot of kids can. And what does that mean for their relationships going forward? That it's not a real relationship. It's going to, be frictionless. It's going to say what you want it to say. And then that becomes that standard where how are they going to have a relationship with a real human being?
Yeah, to that point about how do you start to foster relationships, Lori, your book actually talks about loneliness and what to do about it, and just having one conversation with one person can make you feel that much less alone. What can someone do who feels so lonely they don't even know how to take that first step?
Yeah, I think people think that you need a lot of people in your life to not be lonely, and that's not true. What you need is you need quality relationships, even with one or two people. And you also need these small social interactions during the day. So there's a whole body of research in the last few years that have shown that if you talk to people on the subway, while waiting in line, instead of pulling out your phone. So if you look at people waiting in line somewhere or, getting food, wherever you are, everyone's on their phone. No one's talking to each other. Any small interaction that you can incorporate into your life actually has shown that it improves people's sense of well-being, even doing it for a week. Improves your sense of well-being and decreases your sense of alienation and loneliness.
Yeah. Nedra, what do you think works in terms of creating those connections? Again, sometimes just taking that first step.
Mm-hmm. I would say making something consistent. If you go to a coffee shop, going to the same one around the same time so you're seeing the same people. That familiarity can help you become less guarded and open to saying hello and open to building community and connection. I know that there are some people who are shy about speaking up, but I certainly think we have to do it when we're not engaged in our devices. If we think we have this connection in this community that we've built online, ask someone to come and help you with something.
Yeah,
like a real thing, and we don't find that in these communities that we have, but we can find that in real life.
Yeah, Jean, you've obviously studied this generation. What do you think we will see moving forward? How does this conversation evolve? How does this issue evolve?
Well, I think the danger is that we know from a lot of research the younger someone experiences depression, the more likely it is it's going to recur later in life. So I think Gen Z is going to be living with this for a long time. What encourages me is the conversations among teens, among young adults about more regulation around social media. A lot of those groups are advocating for that. Teens are having these conversations. So I talk at schools, often to high school and middle school students, and they will have these conversations with their friends of, hey, if I don't text you back right away, I'm not mad at you. I'm taking a break from my phone. And hey, maybe let's not set up our plans on Instagram or Snapchat. Let's use texting to do that, to try to find other ways to communicate that might be healthier.
Yeah, Nedra, quick final thought from you. What gives you hope in this moment?
I think we've done this with other technologies where we have figured out how to live with the technology in front of us, and we can do that with devices. We can do it with social media. We just have to practice some new skills.
Yeah. Lori, finally to you, what gives you hope as you look to the future?
What gives me hope is that teens are really talking about this. When there was this, question of the TikTok ban, a lot of teens were saying that might be good. That might be good. We love our TikTok. We don't want to lose it, but at the same time, let's think about maybe whatever happens with TikTok, can we be more aware of how we're using it? And I think the fact that they're aware that it's a problem means that they're willing to make some changes.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here today for this really important conversation. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.